So thank you for a great introduction.
My pleasure.
And now I can speak Japanese. Thank you. Thank you, John. We live in a fast-changing world. Imagine yourself riding the bicycle of life. Imagine yourself traversing many, many things towards your goal. And mic's not on.
It's on.
It is on. I need to project, right, John? And it gets exciting. Because along the way, the road to success is not that easy. So we get excited, or we can also get dejected. So I'm going to ask you, how does this look like if I show you this picture? The world we'd like to live in is the one up top where you ride your bicycle through life, where the target is just right at the top on a very slow gradient so that you can actually glide to success. But the universe plan for you is a little bit more on the bottom half. Would you agree? Or is it just me? I thought that was my life, personified in a week. So I'm just wondering. So if that's what we've got planned for us, we really need to be aware of all the obstacles that come along the way. And a lot of times we get dejected because we think, not another one, not another storm, not more rocks, not another tsunami in my neighborhood. So what if you switched your mindset? What if you thought about it as, hang on, maybe the challenges was put in my way so that I can overcome them and be better. Because if that was nice and smooth, we're in our comfort zone. We'll never get past it. So how many of you play games on the computer or on apps? Come on, be honest. Be honest.
Only these two?
Oh, only these two, Hamza. Okay, I was just in any games, okay? I mean, women actually, funnily enough, the stats show that it is women between the age of 35 to 45 that's actually playing more games than anybody else. Why? Because they get the satisfaction of being able to achieve little chunks along the way. Think level 1 when you're being in a game. You don't get to level 2 until you overcome and master a certain skill. And then it becomes so easy, level 1 is boring. So you go to the next level. Then level 2 becomes a little bit boring because you've overcome the obstacles, then you go to the next. So we aim in gamification to slowly progress through obstacles so that we can get to the highest level. So I'm asking you, would you rather have a life where it's slow and easy like that, where the goal might be a little bit easy to achieve? Or would you like those obstacles so that you might actually be able to surf past all that and become more excellent, more successful, or maybe even surprise yourself? So the beautiful thing is, I'd like to introduce this term because it was in my title. How do you partner in this world that's changing through what we call contextual intelligence? How many people have heard that term? Contextual intelligence. Nobody? Yes, Eleanor. Yeah, you're just being humble, as usual, Eleanor. Right.
Last week with you.
Yes. Oh, you're so beautiful. Thank you. Okay, what do we, Elias, what do you know of contextual intelligence?
Oh, you would ask, wouldn't you?
Just your understanding of it.
I would put it down to intelligence in the moment.
Okay, right. So that's an interesting concept because every moment has a context.
Yeah.
Right? And we're usually quite intelligent in one context, but we may be actually quite inexperienced in another. Think about this. I coach a lot of CEOs. They're very intelligent within their business, but usually by the second coaching session, they're talking about their third marriage and their teenage daughter isn't talking to them. So they're contextually less intelligent in the home. But what if there was an ability to help that CEO shift some of his intelligence of managing a great team with results and shift it back into the home? And also, how about the woman who is looking for a role after they've had 3 years off because they opted out of a career to stay home with the kids? They have this context of, I've been really comfortable with the kids, now I'm uncomfortable going back out there. And one of the things we're finding, I think Mr. Podolinsky, you talked about love in the world. We're very good at love at home. But what if this woman took the love of her home tribe and transposed it onto love in the workplace? What about those lessons? So I basically help people shift that contextual intelligence, the ability, and this is a definition from a Harvard Business School professor. She's a strategy and international, understand the limits of our knowledge and to adapt that knowledge to an environment different from the one by which it was developed. So all of you have been perhaps experts in some area of your life, but you may not even realize it. So one of the things I hope to shine the light on in this 40 minutes I have with you is for you to think about you as an expert and where are you as an expert. Because in the world that we're going so quickly right now, you may not have the time to learn a new skill, but you might be able to partner to it. So imagine you're in a game where my son has been playing some Xbox games. I know you're supposed to not play Halo and all that really, really rough and violent games. But one of the things you learn about is as you go up in levels, you start to recruit people to help you. And you can't do this alone. So one of the things I talk about partnering contextual intelligence is if you don't have that intelligence in that context, maybe you can borrow someone else's brain, borrow someone's experience. And to a gentleman this morning who talked about how speakers are seen as experts and therefore competing in that pie. But how about if I change that mindset and said, you're looking at an expert in a field and going through a client that you usually don't use that skill because you don't have it. What if you partner to that person that you've identified as an expert? And that's one of the things I hope I'll invite you to. So you've probably been wondering about this. Flip chart.
Yes.
Right, okay. Let's leave it because I'm going to show you a little video of what if our world in 2028 looks like this. And I'd like you after to view this video to have a quick chat about that impact of the video on you, thinking about how quickly the world is changing. Did you know that in 2028, electric. interesting question. How do you feel? Just talk to the person next to you. After seeing that video, how prepared are you for this world in only, how many years to go? 13 years to go. So have a little chat and notice what you might need to do to be able to survive or maybe even thrive in that world. Have a little chat. Roger, right? So that's cool. Can you pay me later? And maybe if we think of love in our community, we're going to think of Michael. I don't know. I didn't mean love in the romantic love in the workplace. It's freedom from fear so that you may be able to have CSR or whatever it is. Okay, so that's one of the key things that we're finding. So in order not just to survive, don't worry about being dumped on the rocks on the beach. If you get dumped, heal thyself, get somebody, get some expertise on a chiropractor or a doctor and move on. But grow from it and you'll avoid the rocks next time. So this was a bit of the objectives that actually Jagger asked me to cover. In 40 minutes, I thought it was really hard, but I just wanted to give you a flavor of what it means. Have you got the essence, the leadership essence, to take you through VUCA? And the key essence around it is know your authenticity, be present in the moment. In other words, know what's happening in your world. Have the common sense to pick what you can do and what you can't do, and partner to it. That's the ABC. Authenticity, being present, common sense. And if you step away from the context and can inspire other people to join you, you'll be even more effective. So that's why we need to be agile, because even if we know who we are, we need to be able to be present, to be agile, to change and flex quickly, partner when you know that you haven't got it, and partner real experts. But where do you find them? They're in this room, right now. So, have you seen this term?
Yeah.
How many of you think that business unusual is now usual? Yes, okay. I'm going to ask you to do a little exercise, just only for a minute. Partner with someone next to you, and I'm going to ask you to do an exercise where partner A is going to tell a story. So partner, have you paired up? Yeah. People are maybe. All right. Yeah. Or maybe you can join there. Okay, we got partners. Okay, partner. Okay, if A in the group, can you put your hand up? A. Okay. A, you're going to tell a story, and you can tell a story. Either you want to practice one of your stories, that's fine, or you want to tell a story of an event you've just been to. Just tell a story. Now, partner B, put your hand up. Your job is to randomly, the moment they start one sentence, randomly throw in a word. And partner A's job is to incorporate that word and try to stay true to the story. Okay? And randomly throw in and see how they incorporate. And notice what happens for you, partner B, and notice what happens for you, partner A. Off you go. Let's play.
The other day, playing white.
She doesn't have a partner.
So that's a positive for you. Okay, great. So there's some positives from our fast-changing world. What else? Your thoughts?
I believe in the concept of the survival of the fittest, such natural selection and all that kind of stuff. So, and I believe what will happen is with the needs, we will evolve. Whether we like it or not, we will evolve. Otherwise, we'll die off. And I don't think we want to die off. So I can't predict what 2028 will be for speakers, but I'm very sure when the time comes, we'll be ready for it as we progressively change according to
Yes, great. And one of the key points is amazing topics we could be covering. And if you're passionate about some of those things, you might be able to monetize it. And again, Who knows where the wave will take us? This is just someone's prediction, but we know that strategic plans that last past 12 months don't usually stay the same. So how dare we think about 13 years? But it's a nice visionary. In 3 minutes, we could see our world captured in 13 years' time and how it motivates us for positivity or some optimism, like, we're not going to die off. We're going to thrive. We're not just going to survive. And as speakers, those are the thoughts I'd like to evoke in that. So one of the key things I want to invite you to think about, if you are a sportsman, we actually go for our goal, but we hope that we have a competitor that's going to push us a bit further. If you remember when Apple 1.0 was about to do a Chapter 11, when they were going to go bankrupt, who came and saved them? Microsoft. Now, why did Bill Gates decide to pump 100 million into their competitor? Think about that. Stupid thing. But in the VUCA world, which I'm going to actually explain to you what the VUCA world means, is that if you don't have a competitor to push the boundaries with you, you're going to get complacent.
Not as fun.
Pardon?
It's not as fun.
It's not as fun as well, right? So one of the things I want to invite you is imagine yourself as a surfer. How many people actually surf?
In the internet?
That was a great context shift. I like that. Yes. How many of you surf not the internet, but in the water? Okay, great. Rajan, what do you know as a surfer? A body surfer? A board surfer?
It hurts enormously.
It hurts enormously.
And I don't care. My 1.5 seconds on the board counts.
We love it. Okay, another surfer in there. I know that you surf, Mark.
Yeah.
Can you explain to us about this concept of why the surfers hunt for this great wave and what happens?
Well, it's the patience to wait for the right wave. So you let a lot of waves go by. When you do select a wave, you select it quite a way off. Then you start paddling like crazy to keep pace with the wave. And the ultimate idea is to get yourself onto the top of the wave, slightly in front of the wave, and ride it into the shore. But then when we're surfing, the other issue is the shore. The shore's coming. It's not debatable. So you either hit the rocks, hit the sand, or come off the back of the wave. You've got three choices, or fall off the board and do all three. And that's the concept. And then we paddle back out and we go for another wave. And we've got to be very patient. And if you're in Australia, you're battling sharks and jellyfish and all types of wonderful things to have this challenge in your life. The ultimate aim is to miss the rocks.
Lovely.
1.5 seconds or more.
Which brings us to the fact that, like I said, it's amazing how surfers actually look forward to catching that wave, and they got dumped. They pick their boat up and go up and catch the next wave. So, and in the process, they learn about themselves, they learn about the environment. So one of the things I'm going to invite you to do is start thinking about surfing the wave of VUCA, which is where the world is at. Now, anybody who's familiar with the term VUCA, do you know what this acronym stands for? Anybody who's read this? I know you heard my talk before, so you're not allowed to say. Okay. Haven't heard the term VUCA. Well, VUCA was actually a military term. So us in the military, we've kind of known about it for a while, but like business always kind of tracked where the military went. And when a military group of troops land in a difficult terrain, it is termed VUCA, where mistakes means life or death. So in an environment that is volatile, in an environment that is uncertain, in an environment that is complex, and in an environment that's ambiguous. Now, does that describe the world of business for you at the moment?
Describes life.
It describes life, absolutely. Now, I'm going to share something that perhaps my great-granny would probably have experienced a world of VUCA according to her when she migrated from China. My great-granny, at the turn of the century, was an immigrant with a young child, my grandmother, widowed very early with no education. Now, when she landed in Malaya, in the tin mines of Ipoh, do you think that she was in a VUCA world?
Yes.
Yes. Absolutely. It's just that her VUCA world was actually going at a much slower pace than we experience it now. But it too is a VUCA world. And immigrants we know have thrived in not only in Malaya and Malaysia, but in Australia and the Americas. We know that. So what is it about this VUCA that actually helps grow us? So don't be afraid of it, celebrate it. And I will continue my story a little bit about my own little VUCA world with my great-grandmother. Because of her ability to serve the wave of VUCA at the turn of the century, it made her a tough woman, where she knew that the contextual intelligence of knowing her world is going to be very different from mine. Would you agree? I am now the great-granddaughter, 6 years old, and she is a woman very close to her 60s. I'm very, very blessed to have actually known my great-grandmother. How many of you would have known your grandparents? Grandparents? That's lucky. How many of you know a great-grandparent? Great. How many of you know 2 great-grandparents in your life? I've known 2. Thank you, Johanna. 2 of my great-grandmothers. And they bring with them stories of the survival of the VUCA world. And I want to share with you one first, because it actually started to grow me, which is actually the fact that she, at 6 years old, I was in a world that was very privileged. I had food to eat, I was going to school. And I had the luxury of having time to make and create paper dolls for games. How many of you as little girls or boys have watched your cousins or your sisters playing with paper dolls? Okay. And then, yes, you might even have created them with them, because you might have given them feedback that this doesn't look good, right?
Much better.
Much better, absolutely. So I created a set of paper dolls that I was really proud of, and I remember sitting at the kitchen table playing with them with my great-grandmother. And she was looking on at me like this. She used to sit on a high stool, you know, very much like in Ipoh Old Town Coffee, those kind of stools, but high, like a bar stool. And she'd actually put her leg up and hold on to it because it was more comfortable. No old lady used to do that now, except for rickshaw drivers. But anyway, rickshaw pullers. But anyway, so that was her world. She'd look at me. She said to me, Yvonne, are you going to be going to school next month? And I said, absolutely, and I'm really excited, right? So she said, you are going into the big wide world. It's tough out there. Now, why would you say that? Right? You're now going out of home into a VUCA environment, something that's different, a new context. And I said, yeah, I'm really excited because I'm going to learn so many new things. I'm going to make so many new friends. I saw it in a very positive light. What's my grandmother seeing it at the moment? In her world, when she immigrated, she had no education. There were only 3 things she could do. She can't be a teacher, because she can't teach. She didn't have education. She can't be a seamstress, because she didn't sew very well. She was a farmer. She could probably be a prostitute, but that was against her values. So the only thing she did was she actually ran a little cigarette store that kind of was running her business. She probably sold some opium to the brothels, but that's another story. But anyway, so that's my great-grandmother, and she's seeing the world as tough for me, but I can't see it yet. Is she going to tell me about herself? She didn't. I found out a lot later. She died 3 years later, but she showed me a hostile world. Because she said to me, are you still going to be playing with those dolls when you're back at school? What am I going to say? My creation? I mean, even with jobs, it's hard to give up Apple. No way, I'm not giving up my creation. Nobody stands between me and my dolls. To which she took a deep breath, she went into the kitchen, and she lit the stove for dinner. Then she gathered out my dolls. And I thought, oh, she's actually excited about getting to know my dolls. So I followed her into the kitchen. To which she threw the dolls into the fire. Now some of you are probably thinking, what a horrible woman! How dare she? How many of you think that? Yes, a little girl. How many think that was the right thing to do? Right, thank you. You guys are more evolved than me. At 6 years old, I thought that was the worst thing. You were meant to love me. How dare you? You're meant to protect me and my creations. How dare you?
She was a professional trainer.
High five. She knew about how to teach through experience as opposed to telling. So that day I made a decision that I would always never feel that way about the way I felt for her that day. I did not want anybody else to feel that about me. So I made a decision to be well loved, well liked, and approved of. Now, that was very successful for me. For the next 40 years, I read psychology and I learned how to read the room, and I learned how to be a great dentist or Air Force or whatever it is, because I knew how to deal with people. However, there was a price to pay. What's the price?
You need the acceptance of others.
To need the acceptance of others, which means
You're not being yourself.
I'm not being myself. Or do I know really that's me? So an authenticity issue for me. So I became very good at whatever I put my mind to it, because I made the effort. Notice, I was in the military, I was in the dentist, I was an actor, became a speaker and author. Gosh, I've got an identity crisis. Sorry?
And you're a CSP.
And I'm a CSP because I'm looking for approval. I'm looking for approval. Served me. Did it serve me? Did it give me success? Absolutely. Absolutely. But one of the things it didn't give me was one of the things that I want to ask you to think about, which Mr. Podolinsky shared as well, is one of the things I did not do was love myself enough because I was looking for love on the external side. And one of the things to thrive in the VUCA world, which is not written in business school books at the moment, is my take on the VUCA world is that if you have a mindset of love, which to me is an inner experience of a true emotion where there is an absence of fear. I'll say that again. It is a true emotion experience on the inner side of ourselves where there is an absence of fear. Because think about it. A lot of things that we do with fear means there's an absence of love. Does that make sense? If you love yourself enough, then there's no fear that I should be approved of by others. Go be authentic. But at the same time, if you want to monetize something, you need to actually engage people to love your work. But if it comes from authenticity, it comes from a deeper place. And I think I was here for your talk and was very touched by it, Michael. So I'm going to basically skip forward now to look at, from a business school perspective, we've actually looked at VUCA as a condition of the world right now, and the things that help decision makers is for them to identify which VUCA they need to work on just in time. And once they've picked one of them, we actually use a VUCA prime to bust it. And this is from the Thunderbirds School. There's a paper written on the VUCA primes, which is actually spelled VUCA as well, thank goodness, so we don't have to learn another acronym. And that is, and thank you, Jaya, for your memory skills. Actually putting things into mnemonics can actually help. So vision, understanding, clarity, and agility are the ways to bust it. And I know that a lot of us work on vision with companies nowadays, don't we? To actually get a clear vision. But a clear vision with understanding for the people that this vision means to, and there's no relevance. A lot of times people look at a few words on a page, which is not meaningful. You've got to get the love in. You've got to get the heart in. You've got to get the fact that we're going to hit the emotional values of people. And they have to have lack of fear or freedom from fear to be able to move forward. So a vision that's compelling with all the obstacles. If there is a leap of faith, which is what the L stands for, if L for the leap of faith, you would leap forward to try and get to the vision no matter what tsunamis hit you, correct? And if there was optimism, in other words, if we were optimistic to know that if we can learn to understand one another together we are stronger. Just alone, we can't beat the obstacles as well. Think about it, when we were hunters in the savannah, did we survive well with just a mere little guy with a spear? We looked at the example. We looked at the example of the lioness. They hunted in groups, right? And together they could corner a big buffalo, elephant, right? They could do that. So we need to be able to understand, coming from optimism, that we've got a faith in our vision, and together we can be more optimistic than if we are on our own. And the vulnerability by which, in the complex world, I'm going to ask the question, How many of you start getting so confused because there's too much information to deal with? Yes? Google has done us a great service and a disservice because the information is so freely available. Now, as speakers and trainers, our job of being paid many, many, many good dollars is our ability to put information in formation.
Very nice.
Because if we can put it into a relevant package where it's simple and clear to understand, it makes the people to move forward that much easier. So therefore, our ability to do just one thing, pick it really simply, dissect it so that it's chunked down and simple and relevant, is one of the key skills that all leaders, including you, because you are leading out in your expertise, so that we can look for you. If we think Rajan, we probably think economic success, right?
Financial planning.
Sorry?
Financial planning.
Financial planning. There you go, I got it wrong. Maybe I need to work on my information sort, or maybe it's your branding, right? I'm not putting it down. I'm not clear. I knew it was finance, but I wasn't clear exactly what it was. So that's what we need to do. And agility is the point that I want to cover today in hopefully the last 15 minutes. But agility is the ability to be what? Flexible fast. Not just flexible, you can take your time being flexible. Take time to learn. Go and study under a master in the Zen mountains. No time, kids, right? We need to be mindful in the midst of madness. In the madness of it, we got to breathe and be inspired and therefore clear our mind so that we can chunk it down from complexity to just one thing, just in time. Just one thing, just in time. Just one thing, just in time. And maybe if we fix that, the rest will start to follow. So the agility part is to do it fast. And because you can't learn in time, did you get from this exercise for yourself?
Had to think more clearly.
You had to think more clearly, okay? Did you have fun?
Yeah, loved it.
Okay, why was it fun to think clearly? Because sometimes when we're asked to think on our jobs, we hate it. So why was thinking clearly so great?
Because it again refocuses you and just re-energizes you when you think clearly.
Okay, great. So actually, and did you have your end in mind still? You still want to follow the story, but, or did it start to get distracted?
Just have fun.
Just have fun, okay. Sometimes turn the thing on its head. We get so caught up in telling our story that sometimes when some new information comes up that is innovative, we throw it out. Thank you. Okay, who else? Partner A. How? Yes.
I learned to be creative because every word comes out, I don't know what is it. So I have to be creative and be in the moment and also create new ideas so that I can synchronize with him.
Right, okay, so you have to. So therefore you're dancing with your partner.
Yeah.
And your partner, okay, now I'm going to come back to this dancing thing. How did you feel about trying to sync in? Was it hard work? What were you feeling?
I think we are good dance partners.
Watch out. Watch out.
What's
great.
it now?
That's
a good guy.
Great. And to Jackson's point, he stood up this morning to ask us to dance with him. Right? To dance with him. Because together we can make a better flash mob together.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that's what flash mobs are. Suddenly, a few people come on, and then more people join, and even if you never learned to dance before, you just join and you add flavor to it. It's that flash mobs are made out of. Max, you got a flash mob project. Okay, great! Someone comes up with an exercise? I think that was channeled. Anyway, okay, partner B. How did you feel doing the exercise? Partner B, who was it? B.
I was focusing actually on coming up with a word that would be slightly disruptive, but
Okay.
would allow the story to continue. So it's a bit like dropping a piece, a bit of sand in an oyster. You want to see if a pearl comes out.
Okay, and did you get some pearls?
Yeah, it's a really great story, and it's something that I can use.
Ooh, thank you. There you go. Innovation that's shared. And just notice what Rajan actually did. He was trying to be considerate as well. Not to just throw any bit of sand, but to be considerate that maybe it might tie in with the story, even though it seemed random. How considerate. What a great dance partner. Okay, fantastic. Partner B, yes.
I'm speaking to a storytelling expert, so no challenge.
No challenge. And what was it like for you? For you listening?
For me, not about listening. I say, oh, this is very good icebreaker for my next workshop.
Fantastic! Fantastic!
Or you
Okay.
probably acted it out too, right?
Thank you. So the contextual intelligence, right? We've just done an exercise in this context, and you can now take it out to whatever context you use. And the fact is usually fun for person B, because you can sit back and kind of disrupt a little and watch the effect. And then once you've disrupted it, you think, I can use it too. That is the essence of disruption. Why are people talking so much that innovation is difficult? How easy was this? If we only played with our people a little bit more, maybe we can actually get a little bit more. So business as usual is done for, and the key is collaboration. Key is collaboration. So I'm going to talk to you about a story for myself. Now, the principles of learning partnership came up by accident because I was actually writing a book, writing a journal for myself because I found parenting very difficult. How many of you find that? It's one of the hardest personal development programs I've ever done. Okay? And I don't know why we voluntarily do it. Okay? So one of the things is I started journaling my story, into a biography of what not to do as a parent. But through the process, I started to read the book that's my child or my children. So instead of having preconceived ideas of how parenting should be, I started to read the book that's the child. And so I've gotten to collaborate with them because I don't want to lose my power. Because come on, I'm the leader in the family. I need to be authentically clear of who I am and what I want and what's my mission and what's my vision. So the VUCA world of the home tribe emerged this framework called the leadership essence. Who do I need to be? I told you about it. Authenticity, being present, common sense, and to be able to step away so that I can inspire them to be who they are. At the same time, my children are going through a leadership essence themselves, being authentic, enabling them, empower them to be who they are. I learned so much about myself reading the book that's my children, that I started to read the book that was me that I hadn't read for a long time. So that book actually basically look at that framework, leadership essence, which I coach to. Amazon sells that book as a business book. It's not a parenting book. And it's about getting results for you, honoring your own leadership essence in relationship to the essence of each of your team members. So I've also translated that into a book because I was asked to write a 5,000-word essay for sales leaders. So the editor, Paul Sparks, says, your intentional parenting model is great. So instead of reading a 50,000-word essay to find the gist of it, in the metaphor of the home tribe, you might look at the sales tribe and be able to actually garner this 5,000-word essay on that framework. So I just invite you to do that. And this is the 7 R's of what I call leadership action, which I won't have time to go through. But if you look at the cycle of these 7 R's, think about it. In order to be a great expert, a leader in your field, you're going to need to role model. So you need to live your life authentically, or else people won't believe you. So if he doesn't have a good financial plan, we're not going to him. Okay? If he's not financially successful, why would we, right? So that's one of the things. And we need to respect not only ourselves, but the others, the people who are coming on board with us. Rules, this is a good one. Because in Asia, we're very much into compliance within the family and in our culture. But rules are meant to be questioned and changed if they're no longer relevant. So one of the things to disrupt could be rules and assumptions that no longer work. So as a leader and speaker in your field, how can you disrupt yourself if you can't borrow someone's brain like we just did? And do you have a routine that works? If it doesn't, move it. And you have, in the context of speaking, don't get stuck in it. Don't get stuck in the concept of training. Why don't you shift into the playground and watch kids play? Or go and play in a warehouse and just look at how the manager of a warehouse works, because you might actually pick some routines there that could be useful for you. And the last 3 things is a cycle of just-in-time continuous improvement. Lean, Six Sigma all has it. But if you look at it in plain terms, step back, make sure you've got time, remember, to step away from your context and review and reflect, and be able to organize as you need to so that you can run something a little bit better. And the cycle moves on. Now, I won't cover too much of that, except to say that in building an expert network, what are you going to do? The answer is there, guys. It's not a trick question. In our spinning world, what do we need to do? 2 things.
Button up to your
Cover to your vulnerabilities, but amplify what you've got. Your asset is yourself, your whole experience. And when I coach to anybody, whether it's a speaker or a CEO, I get them to do a balance sheet of their assets and vulnerabilities. What's your strengths? What's your life experiences? What got you here? But what are the limiting beliefs? That's your vulnerability. Who are you that you're scared of? Is there love in your life at work? And I don't mean romance. I mean, is there absence of fear with your tribe at work? Are they fearful to tell you things? Are they fearful to fail fast and fail frequently because you're going to be penalized? So again, this is Paul Sparks got me to write a piece in Leadership and Strategy about the urgent case for a global mindset, because I've just come back from the Middle East, having worked in 130 countries, where it's now no longer East or West, it's East and West. There's a synergy, okay? What about the fact that there is male or female leadership? Male or female speakers. We need, for every one CSP, we've got 20 CSPs, men or whatever it is. Who cares? At the moment, it's probably more about, if you're a woman and you've used probably your male essence to step up in success, which is what can be done. The other way you can do is men who are too dominant in a collaborative world that we need to be. Maybe you need your yin essence to shine. So it's not about who is what. It's the manner by which you project yourself. Is tradition or technology the way we should go? Both. It is tradition and technology. So finally finish the story by basically saying, in order to build the expert network, start with yourself. Who are you the expert? It's not who you know, but who knows you. Now, if you know David Avrin, he's one of our speakers, he's the visibility coach. He says, not who you know, but who knows you. And I'm going to leave you with this story. My great-grandmother. I made a decision at 6 years old to be loved, but I did not love myself enough. To be able to be authentic. I was very present to what was happening. I had a lot of common sense, but I couldn't inspire because I lacked who I was. So I burnt a candle to my great-grandmother about 3 years ago, and I said, thank you, great-grandmother. I now understand that it was tough love you were showing me. And I now understand that I could have made a different decision in my VUCA world. And it would have been this. Go, girl. Go burn those paper dolls. They were my creation. And therefore, from inside myself, I can yet create another set of paper dolls. Paper dolls 2.0. And they're going to be more beautiful, more interesting. And if you burn them, go, girl. Paper dolls 3.0. See me rock. And that is the ticket I'm taking to the world. Do not be afraid to stand up and disrupt if you truly believe in something. And if you want to be successful, make sure you monetize it as well, because David Avrin will tell you to do that. So the need that people want to pay for, if not, your business dies, your message dies. So go out there and build your Paper Dolls 2.0. If you've been doing it the way that it's not authentically you, do it the way you want to. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.